possibility or probability, is there a percent that you would assign to that of a serious warlike outcome?
More than 50%. We have seen a militant regime in China talk about going to war. It's preparing for war. I can't think of a case in history when we have had such a regime preparing for war and not actually gone to war. We know that China is waging proxy wars around the world. We know of preparations for attacks on American installations.
Be taking right now to protect citizens?
Well, the first step is to address the American people. And even if he doesn't know, that's important for us to know. And so that clearly to me is number one. Number two and three is if these aren't ours, shoot them down. We've got to a point where I know that causes danger and risk to people on the ground, but this crisis I think has gone so far that that is a risk that we will have to take. Once peace and stability has been disrupted, sometimes you have to take risks. And we are risk averse because we've lived in peace for a long time. But we're no longer in a peaceful world. We have Russia that is waging war. We have a China that talks about war all the time. China and Russia are involved in conflicts and wars on 3 continents. And we need the President of the United States to have an honest conversation with the American people about the state of the world, because this is not peacetime anymore. So we have to take those risks. And if indeed it is a foreign power, we need to start imposing severe costs on those powers for a violation of American sovereignty and this certainly putting the American people at risk.
Now, we are in a period of presidential transition, so I'll ask a similar question. What would your 1, 2, and 3 steps be for the president-elect when it comes to this issue?
We only have one commander-in-chief. We only have one federal government. And President Trump is a private citizen. He does not have the power of the federal government. He is not commander-in-chief. There is a commander-in-chief. His name is Joseph R. Biden Jr., and he needs to exercise those powers now.
Fair enough. When the president-elect takes office in January, if this is still an issue, what would you tell him? And more broadly, is there anything about this issue that could translate to the president-elect's policies when it comes to China when he is in office?
Well, we don't know if China is behind the drones, but if it is, then we have to assume that we are close to war, because this shows an arrogance and a boldness of the foreign power. As the Chinese did with the balloons. You talk about parallels with the balloons. That was really brazen. And it shows the Chinese don't respect us and they believe that they can do anything they want. So if these drones are Chinese or the Chinese are involved in some way, then we have to consider that we are close to war. And I believe that whoever is commander-in-chief has an obligation to talk to the American people about getting ready for terrible outcomes, because we have China's leader talks about going to war all the time. He's preparing to go to war. He's mobilizing civilians. He's firing military officers who are opposed to going to war. That's not to say that Xi Jinping has made the decision to go to war. But we do know one thing, Maggie, and that is Xi Jinping has made the decision to risk war. He's made the decision to risk war with American treaty allies, which means he is prepared at this moment to kill Americans. And we need the commander-in-chief, whether his last name is Biden or Trump, to talk to the American people about this. This is not an easy conversation. This is not a politically winning conversation. But the commander-in-chief's number one obligation is to protect the American people from foreign attack. And we are very close to that. And if these drones are indeed foreign, we have been attacked.
Those are sobering words, and we've covered a lot of ground, but is there anything else on your mind as it relates to these drone sightings and what it could mean for American national security?
If the more ominous scenarios are in fact true, then Americans need to prepare for being on their own for quite some time. Because the detonation of a nuclear device on American soil will not only cause panic, but it will cause, at least for some time, an inability of government to take care of people. So people need to be able to have enough food, enough water. They need iodine pills. This is not a conversation that the American people have had for a very, very long time. So we have not fought an enemy on our soil on a sustained basis since the War of 1812. But it's very possible that that could very well happen now, especially because we have very disturbing indications of preparations for attacks on American installations. And these have been going on now for months. Our government has not talked to us about it. Our government has not taken adequate measures to protect our infrastructure and our military bases. And the American people need to know that this is a very precarious situation. We think we're at peace. Our adversaries and our enemies, however, don't believe they are.
When you say